Today we're on Chapter 4, Lesson 8, Dividing Mixed Numbers. Please turn with me to page 325. Okay, so the key things we have to remember today. Step number 1, math. Multiply, add, keep the denominator. Step number 2, copy, dot, flop, which is multiply by the reciprocal. All right, let's talk about the real world link. I actually have some interesting stories here. So, the deepest point on the Earth ocean is the Marianas Trench, which is located 6 4/5 miles beneath the ocean surface. The average depth of the ocean is 2.5 miles. By contrast, the highest elevation on the Earth is Mount Everest, which is about 5.5 miles high. So, these are my bits of trivia. We're not going to do the actual questions. We're just going to talk about my trivia. The Marianas Trench is near Guam. Guam was my third duty station when I was in the Navy, and I dove at that time. So here I am diving. The question I ask you is, can I dive 6 4/5 miles under the ocean? Going to wait a minute. What do you think your answer is? Absolutely not. Why? It would squish my little body and I would die. That is very deep. Okay, now let's look at Mount Everest. Next to Mount Everest is this little mountain called Kalapatar. In 1999, I trekked to Kalapatar and looked up and saw Mount Everest. Mount Everest is at 5.5 miles above. So my next question is to you, what is 5.5 miles roughly? All right, anyone? Anyone? That's 28,000 feet. And I climbed Kalapatar, which was approximately 18,000 feet. So I was 10,000 feet below the summit of Mount Everest. Pretty neat. Okay, moving on to the lesson, turn the page. In order to divide mixed numbers, we must turn them first into improper fractions. Again, remember I told you you cannot multiply or divide mixed numbers. You must, I repeat, must turn them into improper fractions. So in this case, we have 1 3/4 divided by 2/5. The first thing I have to do is math. Multiply, add, keep the denominator. So 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7. 7/4. Next, I must copy, dot, flop, or multiply by the reciprocal. Notice it's in 2 separate lines. I expect to see 2 separate lines. 7/4 divided by 2/5. 7/4 times 5/2. I look for relationships. Nope, nope. 7 times 5 is 35. 4 times 2 is 8. It goes into it 4 whole times with a remainder of 3/8. And if I think about this problem, I could say 2 cut in half roughly and get 1. Oh, no, I can't do that because I'm dividing. Again, I have to think about this. 2 divided by half, copy dot flop, is 2 times 2, which is 4. So my guess is 4, and I got 4 3/8. So again, there's a little bit of logic there. Let's look at the next problem. So we have 3 3/4 divided by 4/5. So again, step 1 is to math. Step 2 is to copy, dot, flop. Each must appear on its own line. So let's look at this and say 3 divided by 1 and get 3. I'm just going to say 3. I'm going to make my life easy. Okay, actually I could have said 4. 4 divided by 1, got 4. 3, 4, same thing. Okay, now I've got to turn this into an improper fraction. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15. 15/4. Oh, look, I have a relationship. That's 3 and that's 4. No! No! Remember, again, I cannot look for relationships until I've done step 2. Step 2 is copy, dot, flop. So let's go back to the problem. All right, so we have 15/4. I need to turn that into a multiplication problem. I'm going to do the reciprocal of 4/5, which is 5/4. Now notice there is no relationship. That's where you have to pay attention. You must pay attention. So 15 times 5. 15 times 5 is 75. And 4 times 4 is 16. And I'm going to think about that and say roughly 4 times. I'm going to think 4 or 5. I'm going to try 4, see what that gets me. 6 times 4 is 4, 2, 6, 64. That makes sense to me. 4, and then 75 minus 64, that's easy. That's 11, 11 16. I got 4 and 11 16. I had guessed 3 or 4. They're both good answers. So, what do I expect to see here? I expect to see you have 2 lines. The first line is when you MAC, turn them into improper fractions. The second one is when you copy, dot, flop. Again, 2 lines. Don't mess with the original problem. See you soon. Pause the video. Did you get what I got? I got 9 1/2, 5 5 6, and 7 1/2. Notice again, I know I could have done the reciprocal just because the second numbers were fractions and not mixed numbers, but I still am going to do it in 2 steps. Why? Because I want to get in the habit of good practices. Good practices is to turn them into improper fractions and then multiply by the reciprocal in a separate line. So in this case, each one, I did the multiply after I had turned them into improper fractions. And then I also look for relationships. Notice on number C, you might not have seen the relationship between 3 and 45. I know that 3 goes into 45 because if I add 4 plus 5, I get 9. 9 is divisible by 3, and that's a divisibility rule for 3. Turn the page. Okay, so dividing by mixed numbers. Again, I have to now make 2. So I have to MAC, attack, twice. Which means I really need to have 2 separate lines. So I got 5 1/2 divided by 2 1/2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Or I could say 6 divided by 3 and get 2. 2, 3, they're both good numbers. So the first thing I have to do is MAC it and then copy dot flop. So 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11 halves. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5 halves. 11 halves divided by 5 halves. 11 halves times 2/5. Copy dot flop, multiply by the reciprocal. Look for relationships. Notice the 2's cancel out. So all that's left is 11 over 5. 5 goes into 11 2 times with a remainder of 1, which is 2 and 1/5. I said 3, they said 2. Both are good guesses. Let's look at the next problem. Okay, so we got 4 2/3 divided by 1 3/4. Okay, so let's just say 4 divided by 2 and get 2. I don't know why they want to think about getting a fraction. They probably said 5 divided by 2 and got 2 1/2. But again, I just need an answer that is in the ballpark. So now we have to turn these into improper fractions. So we're going to MAC attack, and then we're going to copy dot flop. So 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. 14 thirds. 1 times 4 is 4 plus 3 is 7/4. I have now successfully turned them into improper fractions. I must now multiply by the reciprocal. 14 over 3 times 4 over 7. And I look for relationships. Oh, great! 7 goes into 14 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 8 2 times with a remainder of 2. My answer is 2 2/3. I guessed 2, they guessed 3. Potatoes, potatoes. They're both similar. I feel good about my answers. So again, in doing these problems, I expect to see 2 lines and not messing up the problem. I expect to see first that you have MAC'd them and then copy dot flop or multiply by the reciprocal. See you soon. Pause the video. I got 1 4/5, 3 1/5, and 2/3. Again, notice I did my turning into improper fractions first, and then copy dot flop or multiplying by the reciprocal second. Both appear in separate lines. Then I simplify the problem, then I turn them into mixed numbers as their answer. So again, if you want to be successful, you need to do it step by step. If not, you're going to make careless mistakes. Turn the page. Here we are with the word problem again. The average adult male giant panda weighs about 1 1/5 times as much as the average adult female. If the average weight of a male is 330 pounds, how much does the average female weigh? Okay, all right. So now I see the words times, and I'm going to think, well, I should multiply it. And then I think, well, maybe that's not the right answer. I have to think about this. It says the adult male is that times more. That means he's heavier. And he weighs 330 pounds. The only way I'm going to get a smaller number is if I divide. So I have 330 divided by 1 1/5. 330 divided by 6/5. Again, I have to turn it into an improper fraction. I need to look for a relationship. So here's copy dot flop. So again, I take 6/5, I invert it. So I have 330 over 1 times 5, 6. 6 goes into 330, 55 times. 55 times 5 is 275. 275 is lower than 330. I know my answer is correct. Please do not get tripped up on words like times and think you need to multiply. What you need to do is read the entire problem, think about it, and determine what you need to do mathematically to get a correct answer. Okay, see you soon. Please pause the video and complete the guided practice. Come back when you're done. Okay, notice on each of these problems, again, I did 2 lines per problem. I did not mess with the problem. So I first converted them to improper fractions, and then I multiplied by the reciprocal. So I got 7, 2 2/7, 23 1/3. Notice that I ended up crossing out the 20s, and I had 70 over 3. I had to do a division problem. I got 23 with a remainder of 1, which is 23 1/3. I looked at problem number 4. It said how many snack packs. I knew I had to get a whole number. So again, I knew that if I had set it up wrong, I would have ended up with 1/6. It would not have made sense. So I looked at it. I knew I had to get a whole number. That's how I knew 19 had to go into 57. It went into it 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. And the last one, is not a whole number. But it seems like it should be now, doesn't it? How many boxes should each player sell? I think I'm going to get a whole, but I'm going to look at my work. I know I have 16. I know I have to divide them up. So I know they're, see, if I looked at that, I would not have written the word whole. I would have known that 12 is going to go into 16 one full time, and it's going to have a remainder of some sort. So again, I should get 1 and something. So when I get the work, I find out that they sold mathematically 1 3/8 boxes each. Now, of course, they didn't sell 3/8 of a box. This is an average. Averages will always result in fractional numbers if the numbers don't work out perfectly. So, how do you divide mixed numbers? Again, you have to turn them into improper fractions, and then you have to multiply by the reciprocal. I call that Mac Attack and Copy Dot Flop. Thank you. See you soon.